When we speak of ISB and its impact on students, the one word that stands out is transformation. We welcome bright young minds to the school, see them graduate with flying colors, and go on to accomplish some incredible things. The trajectories of their lives and careers have overlapped, beginning with their time at ISB. From completing their postgraduate programs in management, to taking up consulting roles with McKinsey & Company, to now being the co-founders of two of India's most promising unicorn businesses, they have grown hand in hand. OfBusiness, the first of these unicorns, is a new age B2B commerce and fintech startup that provides smart procurement and smart financing solutions to manufacturing and infrastructure sector SMEs through its tech-enabled platform. Oxyzo began as the lending arm of OfBusiness, offering credit solutions customized to help SMEs improve their profit margins by expanding their operations and increasing revenue. It now disperses loans in excess of rupees 4,000 crores to SMEs every year. OfBusiness was voted the Economic Times Startup of the Year in 2023, while Oxyzo has been recognized as the new Unicorn of the Year in 2022 at the CII Unicorn Summit. Asish has been recognized in the Business Today PwC Best CEOs list and has been named Young Turk of the Year 2023 by CNBC, while Ruchi has been recognized as the winner in the finance category of the DNA Women Achievers Award in 2024. Join me for a conversation that delves into the amazing entrepreneurial journeys of Asish Mohapatra, co-founder and CEO of OfBusiness from the PGP Class of 2006, and Ruchi Kalra, co-founder of OfBusiness and CEO Oxyzo from the PGP Class of 2007. We are doing this next Thursday in Bangalore with Rohit. Right. Before I start asking you a couple of questions, I know that what will be on the minds of most people is perhaps this question that this is an ISB couple already also, together in business, in work, but you're not an ISB couple who met on campus, right? I mean, you're from 06, you're 07. So let's start with where you met, and then we'll come back to your professional thing and how that...
Well, we did meet on campus.
Okay.
We did meet on campus. I went to recruit as a junior McKinsey guy, trying to tell people who could be potential recruits.
Okay.
I tried to tee up a conversation and got shot down.
Do you agree? Is that, I see you nodding.
No.
Ruchi, we want to hear your story.
He was there at the time when I got recruited in McKinsey for sure. But our interactions were much more because we were staffed on the same study in McKinsey.
Okay.
So, and he being the senior, trying to give all the new joinees a lot of the gyan and the framework. And that's how we kind of...
So that's how
was
we
he
met.
an easy inductee or was he a tough guy?
No, there was no chance of her shooting me down again because now I had the upper hand. So she was an easy inductee.
Yeah. And there were some common interests. I think we started discussing stamps quite a lot.
I don't know if you have the stamps that has been issued about ISB stamps. Do you have?
I don't.
So if you guys are good interviewees today, you will get copies of that. It's issued by the India Post. So
which year was that?
2016 for the 15th year.
Okay.
And 2022 when Prime Minister Modi released our stamp. So
nice.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
We're going to add to your collection as well.
Yeah.
So I knew about that. Brings me to what you guys do. OfBusiness, Oxyzo. Tell us a little bit about how this idea of OfBusiness and Oxyzo came. But I think also if you can just help our viewers understand also about what's the business all about.
So OfBusiness, interestingly, Guru came to our collective minds when I was a VC.
Okay. This was when you were at Matrix.
This is when I was at Matrix. I would say late 2014, early 2015, we started seeing a lot of action in the SME space, which is companies were getting started across procurement, logistics, financing and all that stuff. And we kind of collectively thought that this is the world that we had seen from up close. So why don't we do something for this world? OfBusiness actually sources material directly from the source and gives it off by bypassing all the intermediary layers directly to the SME. It acts as like one large intermediary platform and solves for all the issues and makes SME feel like he's like a corporate buyer. So that's how OfBusiness was founded. Slowly over a period of time, we realized that we should be doing something of our own.
Yeah.
So like you see on Amazon, like you see on Flipkart, we actually have our own private labels as well.
Okay.
So the private labels get sold on the platform in line with the other brands that we trade with. Today, OfBusiness is about 40% private labels and about 60% of other brands that we sell on the platform. That's what we do. So that's OfBusiness in a nutshell for you.
Yeah.
Excellent. And Oxyzo came up because you needed
So,
to provide financial.
When we started itself, we realized that we need to look at an SME more holistically.
Sure.
Right? So the starting point was saying that there are three key needs. One is in terms of saying that how do they get the raw material at the right price, right convenience, etc. that Ashish spoke about. Second is saying that can there be finance to actually buy raw materials.
Got it.
And third was saying that can we help them in increasing their own turnover. So those were the three premises with which we started, and we said that let's look at it more holistically and build all different solutions around it. And that's how the tech solution came into being, in terms of saying that, okay, can we give them revenue opportunities? Can we flash it to them? Can we tell them tenders that they can apply for? Similarly, financing also came up, saying that can we provide them working capital financing, which is matching their cash flows primarily to buy raw materials. But when Oxyzo was established, it was very clear that you could use the financing facilities to buy from any supplier. One of the suppliers could be OFP Tech. So the captive mindset was not there. We were always thinking about it as a holistic solution for SME, that an SME can come, just take financing. SME can come, just take raw materials. SME can come and take both raw materials and financing and the tech solution. So that's how Oxyzo came into being. And now both of the entities have grown into its individual capacities without being dependent on each other, but more synergistic.
I think our biggest acquisition tool is something that we started off with, was a product called Bid Assist.
Okay.
Bid Assist initially was conceived as a tool which will give revenue opportunities to SME. So most of these guys release tenders, right? And SMEs are the ones who bid for these tenders. These tenders are all online. So before Bid Assist came into the picture, they would actually look on like close to about 2,000 odd websites and maybe 7,000 to 8,000 other vernacular platforms to actually get this tender. What we said, why don't we design a product which can actually give you ready access as long as you've told what you are looking from that. We call it the Google for tenders. So if it's, let's say, Guru and company, he wants to build roads around in Delhi, Janpath, which is where we're sitting right now, then we will give you tenders that are specific to your requirement. That's how we started.
So you've created a layer over these tenders?
Over these two companies, which actually crawl these tenders. We have nothing to do with those tenders, but we neatly package that information. But by doing that, what did we do? We created a pool for all the SMEs to come and use it. And as they were using it, it served as a lead acquisition engine for either financing or for commerce.
And when did you launch Bid Assist as a product?
It was the first product we started with.
Okay. Okay.
Even before both companies were conceived together.
Okay. That's something that I was thinking, was it something that came later on as you discovered?
Took a while to build, but conceptually that was how because we didn't want to spend money on marketing. We were as frugal as...
I've heard you going to Haldirams and sitting there and trying to use that as early co-working space.
So when we started, we didn't want to spend on rent.
Yeah.
Right? Because I was a VC, right? I knew three things kill you. The first thing that kills you is tech costs.
Yeah.
The second thing that kills you is marketing costs. And the third thing that kills you is rental costs. Right? So I said, why don't we start by saving rental costs? For the first, I would say 3 months or so, we were a team of about 5. We used to actually go, Haldiram was in 2 floors, right? So we used to first sit on the ground floor, take a cup of coffee each, amble around for about an hour, and then move to the upper floor, and then again order a cup of coffee. So while a co-working used to cost you about 2,000 to 2,500 bucks a day, this you could manage with like 50 bucks a day. So it's a huge saving, right? So
I do have to mention this to the Haldiram folks.
Haldiram is one of our large buyers today.
See, there you go. So, I mean, their good deed has resulted in business value for them as well, I'm sure. And when you started off with OfBusiness and Oxyzo, what was the vision that you had in terms of, let's say, 15, 20 years kind of thing? Or is that something too premature for you to think of 15, 20 years? What?
You want to take that one?
So I think business models evolve.
Yeah.
But one thing that has been common throughout were some of the core principles that we had started with.
Okay.
Right. Like for example, one of that we touched upon in terms of being frugal, etc. But more importantly, it was saying that we will be more sales oriented as an organization than marketing oriented as an organization. Or some principles that we will build the tech such that you need it for business, rather than saying that, okay, you've built the tech, now you're figuring out what the business is, right? That we will use and tap into different types of sources of capital, whether it's equity as well as debt, right? Or we will have very strong controls when it comes in terms of, and we will ourselves as leaders of the company be involved in areas like collections, etc., because those are key parameters which matter, right?
Sure.
And let's chase real metrics. So we're always talking about EBITDA, PAT, etc. We took our, that actually helped us saying that how fast we reached that goal. Now in that process, the business model evolved. There were things that we started and we were able to close down faster, which actually evolved into what you see as OfBusiness today. So rather than saying if it was a 15-year vision, I would say if you put the fundamental blocks right in terms of what you want as end outcome, those initial 2-3 years guided us well to say what we are today. In the course, at least a year or 2 years, yes, the vision expanded.
Sure.
Right. And like Ashish talked about the fact that, first we were just a marketplace to saying that can we have our own private labels, starting with saying that we are provider of raw materials to now building our own balance sheet as Oxyzo. And I think it's a journey. Any company which wants to start wants to be very relevant. And after you become relevant, you actually want to define the industry. For us, we did get a chance to define the industry. And the vision is more in terms of saying how do you always keep defining and redefining how you see B2B.
Yeah.
And I think if we can maintain to that goal, it translates into numbers.
How did you pick the name? I'm curious. Oxyzo and OfBusiness.
So OfBusiness stands for order for business.
Okay.
And order from business. So it's B2B, right?
Yeah.
So either you order for your business or order from a business. So essentially it's playing on the B2B theme.
B2B theme.
But the real story behind that is that it has for and from, and it has of. So it's a play on Abraham Lincoln's speech. And Abraham Lincoln's most famous speech is the Gettysburg Address, which he gave after the Civil War ended, wherein he ends by something that everybody knows. He says, any nation that is by the people, of the people, and for the people won't perish from this earth.
That's a piece of history playing, couple of 100 years later into business.
Yeah, very much, yeah.
Far away from where it was.
Oxyzo is even more interesting, so I think.
So we had to have the O.
Okay.
Right? Because OfBusiness had already charted the path,
Yeah.
right? And at that time, there was the whole thing about saying that O is kind of that lucky charm for us.
Yeah.
So it had to start with O. I said, we start with O, we end with O, right? So, and obviously, kept on, all five of us, kept throwing names. But then when we arrived at Oxyzo, and the story around it being that you are the oxygen, that's the O, which is like you need it for survival. Ozone, O3, which is like protective layer, so the two O's, and then XYZ because there's no name which has XYZ in between, right? So it becomes like uniqueness in a way, right?
Yeah.
And it just sounded good, honestly. So the combination, now it's become like okay, we are oxygen.
It's a tongue twister.
Yeah.
It's a tongue twister.
And I've heard different people pronounce it
Oxygo
differently.
and all that.
Oxygo.
But for us that-
Oxygo, I've heard.
Oxygo, yeah.
So,
But for us, that XYZ is very, interesting.
But that seems to not have played any role in choosing ISB because there's no O in ISB. Unless we say
There is a
Indian school
there's
of
double
business.
O. There's a double O in school, right?
School and of business.
business.
Indian school of business.
business,
See? So how did you end up choosing ISB? I mean, either of you could go first.
Sometimes things happen for a reason.
Yeah.
It was, so I was working and at that time, ISB was positioned as a school wherein experienced people, that was essentially the positioning. My dad got a brochure. He said we should go. I said, I have less experience than, the experience badge that is put in ISB. He's like, doesn't matter, let's go, right? And we came for a counseling session, etc. And I think that decision was something which was very, very, that it just happenstance. You start to enroll, you start to understand, you ask, and when you attend some of the discussions, you realize that there is a opportunity to be a part of a much larger ecosystem. Yes, apply, got through. I loved the interview process itself. I was planning I would have anyways done an MBA, say a year or two later as well. But I think a combination of a push from my parents to the experience I had in the entire process, it just...
What led to...
Just happened, and I'm so glad that I did it.
Lovely.
No, for me, it was pure maths.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that is one of the single largest reasons why people should choose a 1-year course over a 2-year course, specifically ISB. So first of all, I didn't want to continue being an engineer, right? So MBA was the obvious option. I did the math, and the math was very straightforward. It helped you in both arithmetic as well as geometric progression. So I'll explain.
Okay.
So ISB was a year program, right?
Correct.
So you saved a year.
Opportunity cost.
Opportunity cost, what you could get into, obviously, can substitute for what you spend extra in that particular year. So mathematically, it made sense from an arithmetic standpoint. But more importantly, if you spend, and that's my philosophy in life, that till the ages of maybe 40 or 45, you actually compound, right? So if you have 20 years before that to 21 years before that, and let's say you're compounding at 10% or 15% or whatever, you have that 1 year extra, and that compounding is more important. I had read that somewhere, that the more number of years you have in your belt when you're really compounding, and nobody compounds beyond the age of 45, because after that, you tend to learn very little, and you tend to kind of, use what you've already learned. So, so for me, it made more sense to actually work for more, for a year extra. There weren't too many options for 1-year programs in India for sure.
Correct.
But globally also there weren't too many options, and those seemed pretty frivolous, because the moment I scanned B schools which had 1-year programs back then, I realized that a lot of them were actually more focused on things other than learning. So so I hence chose ISB.
Lovely. I think our admissions folks will be very happy to hear this sort of two-pronged
mathematical
process,
and
arithmetic and geometrical progression. I have a question in terms of, you obviously had this thing you mentioned earlier about, wanting to do something more, and that's how this off-business, the entrepreneurship, plunge sort of you took. Was there a point in this journey in the past 9 years when you said, we've come here, maybe it's not what works for us? What we were doing earlier was perhaps better? Has there been any point of self-doubt or just evaluating, let's put it this way?
So I'll tell you my journey. So while I was at ITC, they used to tell us that, and we were management guys, right? So they used to general managers, they used to tell us, hey, ITC will tell you the time, okay? Just see it and do your work, right? Then when the same analogy, when we joined consulting, they used to say that the consultant's job is to just peep into the watch that the client is wearing and tell him the time. Okay? I said, okay, that doesn't seem like too much value, both of them, right? When we became a VC, the same analogy was used, which was to say, hey, why don't you buy a watch for your client and then tell him the time? What happens in VC is you have to buy the watch.
Entrepreneurship,
in entrepreneurship, you have to buy the watch. You have to wear it yourself.
You have to tell the time
You have to tell the time to yourself and do the work as well. So I think it's a very full stack approach to life.
I love the analogy in terms of all these 4 different roles that you've had.
Right. If it works out, entrepreneurship is the best option you can have, because you're likely working for your own passion.
Sure.
And creating massive impact for the society at large, right?
Yeah.
So there can't be anything else. Obviously, there is a huge downside, as Ruchi said, and the chances or probability of succeeding is minimal.
Yeah.
But if it works out, it's what the world has taken to move ahead, right?
Yeah.
We need more entrepreneurs.
No, we definitely need more wealth creators, entrepreneurs,
job
creators. How has the ISB experience helped you in this, in making sure that probability is more towards positive?
In some ways, I think ISB was the window to the larger world for us. It was like, if you remember the 90s, I'm sure all 3 of us do.
Yeah.
we had DD Metro, and then suddenly satellite television that came in. And then you realize, hey, the world has skyscrapers. The world has roads. There are 4 lanes. There can be 4 lanes, right?
That's true.
So that was ISB for me. It actually opened up the world to say that, hey, there are so many things. When you go to campus, because I was an engineer, right? Out of a tier 2 town, that was my upbringing. Went straight to a tier 2 town to study, which was Kharagpur. Worked largely in a tier 2 town, which was Hosur in Tamil Nadu. And then I went to ISB. For me,
it's very expansive.
Suddenly it's very large, it's very glamorous.
Feel like you can do everything.
Yeah, it was the window to the world. And I used to always compare it with the satellite television. It's like the first time you're in a flight.
Yeah.
The first time you're in a metro. The first time you eat in a McDonald's.
Yeah.
This was my first time that I actually saw the world at large. That was ISB for me. That's one. I think the second thing was, I used to be very good in terms of concepts in general, which comes from commonsensical knowledge because I used to think. But then I realized that you can actually put structure around it, that I don't need to come up with concepts. There are concepts that exist.
Yeah.
And those concepts have been built through years of research.
Yeah.
And once you know them, you can actually use them and build on them rather than trying to invent them. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. I think the number of concepts that I learned at ISB was manifold.
Something that
finance.
you use and apply.
Yeah, very much. Whether it is finance, whether it is organizational behavior, I loved that course.
Yeah.
Whether it was my first course in accounting, Mark Finn was the professor.
Yeah.
I used to love it when he used to say debit, credit. I was like, yes, this is exactly what I've done a business in the past. Right? Yeah, it's called debit.
Yeah.
I remember getting that SMS. I used to tell him, one of the first questions that I asked him is that, hey, you are saying debit means positive. But when I used to see it on my bank account, it used to be the other way around.
Yeah.
He says, hey, boss, have you done a business before?
Yeah.
So people have invented stuff already. So I could inherit concepts that I could build on. That was second. I would say the third one was that you got to know very good people. You mentioned Rohit. There's Ruchi. I mean, hitherto I had known people who were great but very similar.
Yeah.
So I would say these 3 things.
What was it for you, Ruchi, in terms of the learnings from ISB?
No, I echo the entire sentiment that Ashish shared in terms of meeting great people, just opening up, having a much broader perspective, etc.
Yeah.
Completely echo the sentiments. Right?
You've also seen the school grow, as
Very
inside outsiders in the past 18, 19 years, since you guys graduated. What is your sense of how ISB is growing?
I think one of the things that lacked during my time is that we didn't have very active alumnus. Now the alma mater of ISB is like all pervasive. In any other B school, the alma mater is what defines it. I think there is obviously a natural advantage that ISB has because it inherits people who are already somewhat there, right?
Yeah.
So I think the fact that alma mater has grown and they're there in all
Our
kinds of
alums are
industries
everywhere
and all that. That's one thing that I see. The second thing that I see in ISB is that during my time it wasn't there. It probably wasn't there in the ecosystem in general. There weren't too many entrepreneurs. There weren't people who had done different things. ISB was more known to create people who could get into a corporate ladder and could catch the ground running. That was the big value prop of actually coming to ISB. Now you see different things.
A lot of talent.
Right? We have entrepreneurs.
Lots.
In fact, from my class, we have at least 7 entrepreneurs who build companies of scale.
Yeah.
So I think the fact that ISB has actually dabbled in a lot of different things, and this is true to alma mater, is something that I have seen build up over the years.
Got it. And this is like one of those standard sort of classic questions. What would you advise the current set of students at ISB when they're sort of going through the same experience as you did many years ago?
Yeah.
If you were to say, this is something I would have done differently, perhaps, if at all, during my time as a student, what would your advice be to the current class?
I think if I reflect back, 1 year is a very short time frame, right? And if you're signing up for the course, you should be mentally prepared that you do not have the luxury of 2-3 months to then settle in. And then,
Sure.
So if you want to get the best out of ISB from day 1 itself, then make the most of it, each class, each interaction, each assignment, that is something that if you have to be true to the course, you should be from day one, be aware of it, that the time will go by very fast. Is something that
Between the two of you, what's your strength in businesses? What is it that you complement each other with?
So I think Ashish always has this thing that things can be done. So hence to be able to set
Let's
a
get it
much
done.
larger vision
Yeah.
and then orchestrating everybody around
Yeah.
to actually go, distribute, you do this, I lead from the front, right? And just getting the organization galloping
move.
to something which is either much larger as a vision, or even if there is a challenge, how do we overcome that challenge? I
Yeah.
think just that leadership trait is something which I have rarely found in people, which is very, very important
And
to
this is a
drive an
very
organization.
objective analysis.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I
Yeah.
said previously, respect is the core. So that's the core of where my respect for him comes as a professional.
That's high praise coming from a co-founder and spouse.
I just thought for a moment
And
that
fellow
I should
alum.
record it.
It's going to be live at some point of time soon.
It's going to
So-
be live. Yeah, you could have seen my expression. I was spellbound. So thank you. Please keep doing it. so obviously everybody has elements of
Sure.
each strength, but I think what she brings onto the table is something that not many of us are blessed with, which is as the organization is moving forward, she makes sure that in Hindi we say aage daud piche chhod. So you tend to just move ahead, and you may leave open spaces behind, leave flanks that others can take over. You may forget those cracks
Forget
that may appear.
rear view mirror.
The rear view mirror. She keeps everything tight. Whether it is with people, whether it is with process, whether it is with controls, whether it is with risk, whether it is with operations, whether it is with finance. So she makes sure that fundamentally we are there to scale.
Yeah. What would your advice be to fellow alums on how to stay engaged with the school? We'll go with you.
One of our largest suppliers is Steel Authority of India Limited.
Yeah.
They have this slogan which says, there's a bit of sale in everybody's life.
Yeah.
Like there's steel all around.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You think about it. It's in your watch.
Yeah, it's
It's
everywhere.
likely in the furniture.
Yeah.
So the logo says there's a bit of sale in everybody's life. Speak about it. I think for alums, there's a bit of ISB in whatever you do. Speak about it.
Oh, lovely.
That's very
well.
nice,
Yeah,
actually.
beautiful.
Very,
I
very
just thought about it as I was speaking about it.
very nice.
See, that's the advantage of having these conversations.
very nice, actually. Yeah,
Beautiful.
even I like it.
This is supposed to be rapid fire questions.
Okay.
And
Meaning you want a short answer. Or you want a
short,
quick answer.
Quick answer. What's on your current reading list?
I love reading trivia.
Okay.
I just pick up something that I got enthused about during the day. I type it on Google and then just follow the trail.
Yeah.
I don't have the patience to read books anymore, but I read at least 2 to 3 hours a day. But that's how it gets sparked. The reading list is what kind of intrigued you during the course of the day.
Oh, lovely. Lovely. What's the legacy that you want to leave behind? What would you like people to remember you as and the work that you have done?
So this is a thought in my mind of late, is the fact that the purpose of the life is the fact that you leave the world as a better place, right? In terms of people
Everything
around.
that you have done. Yeah. Lovely. And if you were not running off business, what would you be doing now?
So money as a concept interests me. So whether it is investments, whether it is financial services, I understand that concept, how to make money. A lot of my friends say that you can smell money and stuff. I think that's too much of an ask, but something to do with financial services is what I would have ended up doing. Maybe an investment banker, maybe a private equity guy, which is what I was up to any which ways, is what I would have ended up doing. Maybe a stock trader as well, something like that.
I think some venture. I don't know the shape or form of it is.
Yeah.
Maybe doing something small or big, I don't know.
Sure.
But something wherein it's created ground up.
Yeah.
That's about it.
She has this abiding dream of actually building an institution for the homeless.
Yeah.
So I think she'll get on to that in some time.
So
Lovely. And your work culture is also very open. I mean, your offices, like you all sit with your colleagues, your team members, everybody has the same
all
space.
of us have our job to do. And
Yeah.
then all of us have a job to do. Everybody is at par, right? So
Yeah.
everybody should be approachable, right? So it's a common floor, full office. You stand here, you can see the end of the office, right? And Anybody can come up to you and discuss anything. If you want to do a meeting with some extra one, you can. It's just very informal.
Open,
that
quick,
We don't
informal.
calendar.
Yeah.
Lovely. It's been so wonderful chatting with both of you.
Thank you for
as
having
as
us.
a school, we are very proud of alums like you, not just because of what you do for, the work that you are in, which is in itself very significant, but just the outlook that you have towards life, towards your alma mater, and towards everything else in general. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you,
so
Guru.
much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks.